Welcome to Success Tank, a podcast that is aimed to uncover how the most successful entrepreneurs and influencers and people in the world grow and monetize their brand, business, and influence, not only with social media and digital marketing, which is what we typically specialize about and we talk about the most, but also in the normal traditional world. We also talk about here in the podcast how to grow out of yourself, like how to become a better person, how to become a really successful entrepreneur, because entrepreneurship is not only about growing a business, but growing as a person as well. My name is Jose Peña, for those that you do not know me, and I am your host here at Success Tank. And I've been debating quite a while before I actually did this podcast and first episode, and was simply because I wasn't sure how to talk, how to communicate. And as you see, English is not even my first language, so obviously that was a huge barrier for me, especially because this is completely audio. So it's like literally me going into the most vulnerable zone of my quote-unquote persona online, which is how I speak, right? Because again, English is not my first language. So I've been debating quite a while and on doing this. Throughout this entire podcast, you're going to see episodes where I talk about my story, how to go from income to impact, because that's what I believe the most, and it's going to be the motto, one of the main mottos of this entire podcast is going from income to impact. Because when you make that transition mentally, then everything explodes. And we're going to share how I was able to go from just focusing on the income and then focusing on the impact, and then obviously the income follows as well, which is really, really fun. And is really rewarding and just beautiful to see how something you create just blows up completely and grows in ways that you never have thought or could have imagined. So that's part of it. Obviously, we're gonna go, marketing tips, specifically more Instagram, which is quote unquote what people know me for. We're gonna go dive into how to grow, how to monetize any Instagram account, webinars, marketing techniques, things that gurus and other people are charging you a lot of money for. We're gonna just give it away for free here in this podcast, and that's my goal, to give as much value to you as possible, so that when you listen to this a few minutes a day, you can go and leave with a specific strategy that you can actually implement in your life, in your business, and have results with. Okay, I don't want you to spend, a few minutes of your day here with me, which I really, really appreciate. Your time and your attention, which is honestly the most valuable asset. So I appreciate every single one of you hearing this and watching this. But reality is, I want you to leave this podcast with a specific strategy, an outline of what to do, how to do it, and what results you're going to get with it. So we're going to talk about, like I was mentioned, from going from income to impact, marketing strategies, Instagram, webinars, how to network specifically, because that's, I believe, it's one of the most underestimated skills. How to network efficiently, and how to make sure you become better at sales, how to make sure you become better at marketing, how to make sure you build a team, because that's also another part that's missing. And I see a lot of quote unquote gurus talking about you can run a business, solopreneur, and all that stuff, which is true, right? But if you want to make the transition from going from income to impact, you absolutely need to build a team. There was no empire was built alone, and obviously the biggest teams, football, soccer teams, all that stuff, they all have a team and a lot of people behind it. So obviously we're going to talk about that as well. And our goal, also we're going to talk about how to build a successful Instagram agency, which is right now the very filming of this podcast and video and audio, I should say, is our main business model, right? So we have gone from this year to $1 million in revenue in about 9 months, right? And prior to that, just a year before, we almost went out of business. And we're going to talk about more about my story and all that stuff in the following episode. But I want you to make sure, and for you to know, that this podcast, Success Tank, is literally the one tank that you go in and that you can go and leave with something valuable that you can implement and that you will have results with. That's my goal. So you can go from income to impact and build a really successful business and impact the world in a positive way. So because I believe, I strongly do, that success is not necessarily how much money you have in the bank, or what car you drive, or how many followers do you have. Is mainly what positive effect of how have you impacted the world in a better place. I have made this world a better place. How have you made somebody else's life better? And if you've done that, you've been successful. So we're all chasing success, and that's kind of like the goal with this: being able to reach more people, impact more people, and give the tools, information, and everything necessary so you can go out there and make the same thing also. And as you can see, like I said, this is probably one of the most uncomfortable mediums of communication that I have, because again, it's one of those flaws, if you want to call it, where I feel very vulnerable. So I'm being straight up honest. Like, this podcast is where I'm going to share things that I normally will not share publicly or in videos or things like that. And here you're going to get to we're going to get to know each other a lot better, because I believe like podcast is a little bit more intimate scenario, if you want to call it that, to build a stronger relationship. So I also will talk every now and then in some episodes very fast. So you probably, on most podcasts, you 2x the speed because the speaker speaks too slow. Here you're going to have to probably half x the speed because I speak too fast. So I'm going to try to make sure my best to speak as clearly as possible, because like I said, English is not my first language. I come from the Dominican Republic, and Spanish is my first language, and I don't even speak Spanish right. So it's one of those things that's just gonna we're going into and diving into our flaw and our quote unquote vulnerability. That was a hard word to pronounce, and just so make sure we help and serve you. So that's the goal with this podcast. If you're listening right now, I will really, really, really appreciate it if you subscribe to the podcast, rate it, give us a review, and also send me a message on Instagram or on Facebook, or like reply to our emails. Again, like I said, the goal here is for you to listen, like for you to get value, and any feedback that you guys have will be extremely, really, really greatly appreciated, because obviously we're investing time, resources, and energy into this. So obviously we want to make sure we're helping and serving you with this. So having said that, make sure you go check out episode number 2. This is just the introduction of the first episode here in Success Tank. Again, my name is Jose Peña from Dominican Republic. Your host, typically known as the founder of Online CEOs, which is our main company, and can't wait to like have you be part of the podcast and see where this thing goes. So I'm excited. Hope you are as well, and I cannot wait to hear your feedback from the podcast. So see you at the next episode.